Sometimes life just hands you a situation so completely ridiculous, so drenched in irony, you can't help but laugh, or maybe cry a little. This happened to my friend Elias Vance, a guy who knows more about engines than most people know about their own kids. And yet, for 3 years, he was mostly known as the cleaner. It all went down at Ascendant Dynamics, this giant glass monument in Silicon Valley where Elias worked the night shift. He wasn't just the janitor. Officially, he was an operations support consultant, but everyone, from the interns to the top brass, saw the mop, the cart, and the uniform and dismissed the brain inside. Elias had an engineering degree, earned while working triple shifts to pay for his mom's treatments back in Detroit. But here he was invisible, literally stepping around executives who acted like he was furniture. The CEO, Vivian Thorne, oh, Vivian. She was a vision of a ruthless corporate ambition, all sharp angles, power suits, and a contemptuous smirk that could freeze a latte. Vivian lived for control, and she hated that Elias existed. He was a constant, inconvenient reminder of the real world, the world of grease, debt, and necessity that she clawed her way out of and now desperately tried to forget. She'd look right through him, but sometimes she'd target him, scheduling his cleaning route through high-stakes investor meetings, pointing him out to venture capitalists as a symbol of their generous diversity program, dripping with pure sarcasm. The heart of Ascendant Dynamics and the source of everyone's panic was the Mjolnir Core, a prototype AI-driven engine meant to revolutionize their fleet of self-driving transport vehicles. This thing was a beauty, a $3 million piece of German precision, but for 6 solid weeks, it was a paperweight. It would roar to life, run for exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds, and then with a puff of smoke and a cryptic error code, shut down. Harvard, Stanford, and MIT grads, teens of them, earning six-figure salaries, they'd all failed. Their combined student debt probably outweighed the entire engine. But they were useless, sweating in their tailored suits, staring at the same flashing red light. Vivian was losing it, screaming about a $70 million contract that was melting away by the hour. One morning, the disaster hit a crescendo. The Mjolnir Core smoked out the boardroom entirely, setting off the fire suppression system. Imagine 50 soaking wet executives and a floor that smelt like burnt circuit boards and chemical foam. It was chaos, and that's when the big guns arrived. Dr. Ingrid Keller, a legendary automotive engineer from Germany, flown in with her team to assess the disaster and decide if their $100 million investment would vaporize. Vivian called an emergency all-hands meeting, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. And that's when Elias, standing way in the back by the emergency exit, made his move. He'd been studying the blueprints the engineers left on the boardroom table every night while mopping. He'd seen the core specs. He'd heard the strange vibrations when the machine was running late one night. He raised his hand. "Ma'am?" His voice cut through the auditorium's silence, maybe a little too clear. "I think the problem is the harmonic frequency calibration, not the software integration." 200 heads whipped around. Dr. Keller, the German legend, slowly put down her coffee cup, her eyes narrowing from boredom to sudden intense curiosity. Vivian's face went through 3 stages in an instant: shock, rage, and then a terrifying smile. An opportunity. Why just fire him when she could make an example that would terrify the entire company into silent obedience? She stepped away from the podium, her expensive heels clicking like a metronome counting down to execution. "Well, well, Mr. Vance," she purred into the mic, her voice dripping venom over the word maintenance. "The man who changes our trash bags has a fix the geniuses from MIT couldn't find. Fine, here is your stage." She gestured dramatically toward Dr. Keller and the German delegation. "You have exactly 2 hours to diagnose and repair the Mjolnir core in front of our board, our investors, and everyone here. If you succeed, which of course you won't, I will personally promote you to senior diagnostic engineer with stock options. But when you fail," her voice dropped to a theatrical whisper, "security will escort you out, and I will personally ensure that no tech company in this valley ever hires you again." The room gasped. It was corporate blood sport, live streamed for the world to see. Dr. Keller stepped forward and, in a sharp voice that brokered no argument, announced she would serve as the neutral technical witness, giving the farce a chilling air of legitimacy. Elias walked into that executive boardroom, which now felt like a gladiatorial arena, pushing his mop cart alongside him, his faithful companion. He didn't rush. He placed his hands flat on the cold metal engine block, closing his eyes, listening. This wasn't a textbook problem. This was a conversation in steel and grease, a language his grandfather, Samuel, had taught him since he was 12 in that sweltering Detroit garage. An engine has a heartbeat, boy. You just have to listen. After what felt like an eternity, Elias opened his eyes and pointed a calloused finger at the technical printouts. "It's a language barrier," he stated calmly, looking directly at Dr. Keller. The core was precision machined in Munich, metric specs, tolerance of maybe 0.001 millimeters. Dr. Keller nodded curtly. "But your AI calibration was programmed here using imperial measurements, expecting a far looser American tolerance of maybe 0.05 inches. The engineer scoffed. "Mathematically, the conversion is identical." Marcus Brooks, the lead MIT grad, snapped, still wet from the fire system. "On paper, yes," he countered, shaking his head, "but mechanically, no. The AI is micro-adjusting, trying to correct for imprecision that doesn't exist, fighting the core's perfect rhythm. It's like trying to correct a flawless orchestra because you programmed your conductor to expect slightly flat notes. That fight escalates until the engine hits critical resonance right at 1437. Dr. Keller's face was electric. She grabbed her leather notebook and started scribbling furiously, her skepticism dissolving into professional awe. Elias then walked to the supply closet, the very closet he restocked every week, and pulled out a simple, carefully perforated piece of metal, maybe the size of a hockey puck. "The solution," he announced, holding up the simple part, "is not a software patch or a hardware replacement. It's this, a passive harmonic dampener." Vivian laughed, a dry, brittle sound. "You're telling me a $50 piece of metal fixes a problem that cost us 6 weeks and millions in consulting fees?" "Sometimes," Elias replied, looking right at her, "the most elegant engineering solutions are the simplest. They just need someone who truly understands the machine's soul to connect the dots." He installed the part in a fluid 12 minutes, his hands moving with the confident economy of someone who had lived under the hoods of countless broken machines. The moment of truth arrived with 13 minutes left on the 2-hour clock. Dr. Keller gave the command. The Mjolnir core roared to life, but this time the sound was pure, a deep, satisfied purr, the song of 8 perfectly synchronized cylinders. The 14-minute 37-second mark passed, then 20 minutes, then 30. The engine ran with a calm authority, the diagnostic screens flashing green across the board, showing an unheard of 97.3% efficiency, better than the theoretical maximum. Vivian's live-streamed corporate theater had just become her professional execution. The boardroom erupted, not in cheers, but in a sudden deep silence of realization. Dr. Keller was the first to speak, her voice thick with professional respect. "Mr. Vance," she said, extending her hand, "that was not just intuition. That was brilliant, cost-effective, and sound engineering. Your grandfather would be proud." The aftermath was swift and satisfying, like the sound of perfectly tightened pistons. The investment? Dr. Keller's team immediately increased their investment by 25%, an extra $25 million, contingent on Elias leading their new European engine development program. Elias, he was promoted to senior diagnostic engineer, received a 150% salary increase and stock options, and was given a budget to hire his own team. The company, Ascendant Dynamics stock jumped 18%. But the best part was Vivian Thorne's reckoning. She was demoted to strategic advisor, basically a highly paid paperweight, and her salary was cut by 45%. The cherry on top, the company mandated diversity and inclusion training, and the instructor for her first mandatory session, Dr. Ingrid Keller. A few months later, Elias was watching his team set up the new European line. Vivian approached him quietly in the hallway. Her tailored suit looked a little less sharp now, her eyes softer, humbled. She offered a strained, genuine apology, admitting her prejudice. Elias just looked at her, his expression calm, echoing his grandfather's wisdom. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, Vivian. The question is, are you finally ready to listen with the same attention you'd give to a machine that needs repair? He didn't get the company, but he got his respect, and he fixed a lot more than just an engine that day. He fixed a corporate culture that had been running broken for years. So tell me, have you ever seen talent so clearly overlooked or justice served with such satisfying mechanical precision? Was Elias's response graceful, or should he have taken the opportunity to really nail Vivian to the wall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about corporate justice. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories about the hidden heroes who saved the day.